The snow falls on the Wyoming train platform like ash from a funeral pyre. Jacob Brennan stands alone in the dying December light, holding a photograph that lies and a letter that told only half the truth, waiting for a woman who doesn't exist. His fingers, calloused from 5 years of carpentry done without purpose, grip the faded image. The photograph is 20 years old if it's a day. He knows this. But he came anyway, because his sister said he was dying slowly, and at 62, Jacob has learned that dying slowly is worse than dying fast. The train's whistle cuts through frozen air. Jacob watches passengers disembark. No one matches the photograph. He's turning to leave when a voice stops him. "Mr. Brennan? Jacob Brennan?" The woman standing before him is 43 if she's a day. Her face shows every year, every hardship, every lie she's had to tell to survive. Her carpet bag is worn through at the corners, but her spine is straight. Her eyes meet his without flinching. "Miss Wells," Jacob says. Before Catherine can respond, a small figure emerges from behind her skirts. A child, 6 years old, dark hair, hollow eyes, clutching a rag doll with desperate grip. Jacob stares. The advertisement said nothing about a child. "The advertisement didn't mention you had a child," Catherine says. Her voice is steady, but her eyes show fear. "The agency didn't mention I was bringing one either. If that's a problem, we'll take the next train back east." Jacob stares at the child, at Emma, though he doesn't know her name yet, and sees something that stops his refusal. Her eyes. The same eyes his daughter Sarah had in those last days of scarlet fever. Emma whispers to Catherine, "Is this the bad place?" Catherine kneels, wraps her arms around the child. "I don't know yet, sweetheart. We'll see." Before Jacob can respond, the station master approaches. "Mr. Brennan, there's a problem. Sheriff needs to see you and the woman, now." The sheriff's office smells like wood smoke and old coffee. Sheriff Tom Howell sits behind a cluttered desk with a telegram in his weathered hand. "Miss Wells," he says, "there's been an inquiry. The Hartwell agency in Boston says you left without completing your contract. They're demanding you return the child." Catherine's face goes pale. Emma presses closer to her side. "I paid my contract," Catherine says quietly. "Emma was supposed to go to an orphanage. I couldn't let that happen." The agency says the child belongs to them. Legal guardian status transferred when the parents died. You took her without authorization. Jacob speaks for the first time. "What's the agency want?" "They want the child returned, or they want Miss Wells arrested for abduction. They've got a representative on tomorrow's eastbound train." Emma, silent through all this, suddenly speaks directly to Jacob. "Please, mister, can you be my daddy? I'll be good. I promise I'll be good." The office goes silent. Jacob feels punched in the chest. "Can you be my daddy?" The question his own daughter never got to ask again after scarlet fever took her. Catherine stands quickly. "I understand if this is too much. The advertisement was for a wife, not a ready-made family with legal complications. We'll leave on the morning train." "You'll both stay at the boarding house tonight," the sheriff says, "under supervision. The agency representative arrives at noon tomorrow." As they're escorted out, Emma looks back at Jacob with eyes that say, "You're my last chance." Jacob stands alone, holding a photograph of a woman who lied and a letter that didn't mention a child, facing a decision that will define what kind of man he is. Mrs. Kowalski's establishment sits on the edge of respectability. The Polish widow asks no questions when Sheriff Howell brings Catherine and Emma to her door. Catherine and Emma get one room. Jacob takes a separate room down the hall. Mrs. Kowalski's stern expression makes clear that propriety will be maintained. Dinner is served in the common room at 6, 7 people at the long table. Everyone knows why Catherine and Emma are here. Small towns don't keep secrets. The other boarders stare with casual cruelty of people watching tragedy like theater. Emma doesn't eat, just holds her doll, watching Jacob with unblinking intensity. Catherine tries conversation. I apologize for the deception about the photograph. I was afraid if I mentioned Emma, you'd refuse, and I couldn't leave her behind. Jacob cuts his steak slowly. You should have been honest. I don't appreciate being lied to. It comes out harsher than intended. 5 years alone have made him forget how to soften words. Catherine doesn't flinch. You're right. But if honesty meant leaving a 6-year-old child to be institutionalized by people who see her as a financial burden, then I'll accept the consequences of my dishonesty. The answer stops Jacob. He sees something unexpected. Steel. Quiet, unshakable steel. Emma suddenly speaks. Mr. Brennan, do you have a little girl? The question lands like a blow. Jacob's fork stops halfway to his mouth. I did. Once. She died. Emma nods solemnly with understanding beyond her years. My mama and papa died too. That's why Miss Catherine saved me. Saved. The word echoes in Jacob's mind. After dinner, Jacob finds Catherine in the boarding house parlor. Emma has fallen asleep on the sofa, clutching her doll. Catherine sits nearby, mending the doll's dress with careful stitches. Jacob sits in silence, watching. Finally, tell me about her. About Emma. Catherine explains quietly. Emma's parents, Robert and Ann Fletcher, died in a tenement fire in Boston 6 months ago. They saved 4 other people's children, but didn't make it out themselves. Her hands continue their mending. The Hartwell Agency specialized in placing domestic servants. Robert and Ann owed them money, fees that never quite got paid off. When they died, the agency took custody of Emma, called it payment for outstanding debts. I was working in the same household. I saw how Emma was treated. Not abused physically, but cold. Clinical. She was assessed like livestock. What work could she do? How many years before she'd be productive? Catherine's voice softens. She stopped speaking for 2 months after her parents died. Just silent. When she finally spoke again, it was to ask me if anyone would ever love her again. She was 6 years old and thought love died with her parents. The parlor is quiet except for the fire crackling. I couldn't bear it, Catherine continues. I saved every penny for a year. When I saw your advertisement, I knew it was a chance. For me, yes, but also for her. A chance at a real home, not an institution. You risked everything, Jacob says quietly. Your reputation, your freedom, for a child who isn't yours. Catherine looks at him directly. She is mine now, maybe not by law, but by choice, and that means more. The words sit between them like truth too large for the small parlor. Family as choice. The idea resonates with something in Jacob. He thinks about Mary and Sarah, blood of his blood, loved beyond measure, lost completely. He thinks about Emma, sleeping with her head in Catherine's lap, clutching a doll that's mostly just determination holding it together. Jacob can't sleep. Around midnight, he walks the boarding house hallway with restless energy. That's when he hears it. Soft crying from behind Catherine's door. Emma having nightmares. Then Catherine's voice, singing. The language isn't English. Something older. Welsh, maybe. A lullaby carrying the weight of grandmothers and all the women who came before who had to comfort children in the dark. The crying stops. The lullaby continues. Jacob stands in the dark hallway listening. Mary used to sing to Sarah the same way. His throat tightens. He hasn't cried since the day he filled in Sarah's grave with frozen earth. But standing here, listening to Catherine sing, something cracks in his chest. Not breaking, more like thawing. The lullaby ends. Jacob should leave, should go back to his room. But he stands there a moment longer, making a silent promise to the memory of his daughter. I couldn't save you, but maybe I can save this one. Morning breaks cold and brittle. Jacob wakes early, dresses in his best clothes. He's facing a wealthy Boston businessman today, but dignity doesn't require money, just a straight spine. He finds Catherine and Emma already in the common room. Emma wears a carefully cleaned dress. Her hair is brushed. Catherine has done everything to make the child look cared for, but Emma's face shows she understands what today means. Morning, Jacob says quietly. Good morning, Mr. Brennan, Catherine responds. They're back to formality. Sheriff said the train gets in at noon. Catherine nods. We'll be ready. You don't have to face this alone, Jacob says. I'm coming with you. Catherine meets his eyes. Why? You have no obligation. You could walk away. Jacob thinks about Emma's question. Can you be my daddy? Maybe it's not my fight, he says, but I'm making it my business anyway. Emma speaks for the first time. Mr. Brennan, are you going to let them take me? Jacob looks at this small girl with her carefully brushed hair and her doll clutched tight. I'm going to do everything I can to stop that from happening. I don't know if it'll be enough, but I'm going to try. Emma nods solemnly. Sometimes trying is enough. They reach the platform at noon. Sheriff Howell is already there with 2 deputies. The train arrives. Passengers disembark. Then Harrison Hartwell steps down. 58 years old, impeccably dressed in expensive Eastern clothing. Everything about him speaks of old money, institutional power. Behind him, Mr. Graves, his attorney, and Miss Pritchard, the child placement specialist. Hartwell approaches, ignoring Jacob and the sheriff. He addresses Catherine directly. Miss Wells, you've caused considerable inconvenience. Catherine stands straight. Mr. Hartwell, I've broken no laws. I fulfilled my contract. Emma is under my care by choice. The child is under my agency's legal guardianship. You removed her without authorization. That constitutes abduction under territorial law. He produces documents, custody papers, court orders, everything official and legally binding. Sheriff Howell examines them, his face grave. These appear legitimate, Mr. Hartwell. The law seems to be on your side. Emma makes a small sound. Catherine's hand tightens on hers. Jacob steps forward. I'm Jacob Brennan. Catherine Wells came here as my intended bride. That makes this my concern, too. Hartwell's assessment is quick and dismissive. Mr. Brennan, a homesteader, this doesn't concern you. The child concerns me, and I'm making it my business. Hartwell's tone carries condescension. I appreciate your frontier chivalry, but this is about legal contracts, institutional responsibility, and proper social order. The child's parents died in debt to my agency. We took her in, fed her, clothed her. She will be raised properly, educated for appropriate service, and eventually placed in a respectable household. You mean trained as unpaid labor, Catherine says sharply. I mean civilized and given structure, which is more than she'd receive being dragged across the frontier by a woman with no means. Through all this, Jacob watches Emma. The child has gone pale, shaking. Emma whispers to Catherine, I want to go to the bad place now. I don't want to wait anymore. The words break something in Jacob. Jacob's voice cuts through the argument. Mr. Hartwell, you say this is about the child's best interests, about giving her proper care. Indeed, Hartwell responds warily. What if I could prove that we, Catherine and I, can provide better for Emma than your agency? Hartwell's eyebrows rise. You? A frontier homesteader? Prove what exactly? Give me 3 days. 3 days to show you that Emma would have a real home here, a real family, real prospects for a good life. If I can prove that, to your satisfaction, you release her to our care legally. Hartwell laughs. And if you can't prove it, which you won't, then we don't fight the custody. Catherine and I step aside. You take Emma back to Boston. No legal complications. No charges against Catherine. Catherine starts to protest, but Jacob gives her a look that says, trust me. Hartwell considers this. 3 days in a frozen Wyoming town versus immediate departure. You're proposing I waste 3 days to watch you fail? I'm proposing you give a child a chance. If you're so certain your way is better, 3 days won't change that. This appeals to Hartwell's arrogance. Very well. 3 days. You will prove you can provide Emma with 1. Stable shelter and financial security. 2. Proper education and moral guidance. 3. Genuine emotional well-being and family structure. I will be the judge of success or failure. If you fail on even one criterion, the child returns to Boston immediately. Sheriff Howell mediates. Mr. Hartwell, you'll stay at the Grand Hotel. You'll have access to observe, but you won't interfere. After Hartwell leaves, Catherine turns to Jacob. Why did you do that? You've known us less than 24 hours. Jacob looks at Emma. Because 5 years ago I couldn't save my own daughter. Maybe I can save yours. Catherine's eyes fill with tears. She's not mine, not legally. You said it yourself. Family is choice. Well, I'm choosing. Emma takes Jacob's hand. Mr. Brennan, can I call you Papa? Jacob's throat tightens. Let's start with Mr. Jacob. We'll see about the rest later. That evening, Jacob sits alone trying to calculate impossible odds. 3 days to prove. 1. Stable shelter and financial security. 2. Proper education and moral guidance. 3. Genuine emotional well-being. His ranch is neglected. His finances modest. How do you prove love in 3 days? There's a knock. Catherine enters. This is impossible, isn't it? She says. Nothing about this situation is possible, but we're going to try anyway. Catherine sits. They look at each other across space that feels vast. Why are you doing this? Jacob tells her about Mary and Sarah, about scarlet fever, about 5 years of dying slowly. Then yesterday a 6-year-old girl asked me if I could be her daddy, and she said, I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. Like love is something you earn through behavior. I couldn't save my daughter, but maybe I can save yours. And if trying to save her also saves me from dying slowly, well, that seems like reason enough. Catherine speaks softly. Emma asked me once if anyone would ever love her again, like love was finite, like her parents used up all the love that existed for her. I told her love doesn't work that way, that there's always more. She didn't believe me. Catherine stands. I didn't come west looking for love. I came looking for safety, for a chance to save a child. A partnership, Jacob says, based on shared purpose. Is that enough? I don't know. Maybe. But it's what we have. Morning comes cold and clear. They meet Hartwell at the livery stable. Jacob has arranged a wagon. The ride to the ranch takes 2 hours. Emma sits between Jacob and Catherine. Quiet, watchful. Is this the good place or the bad place? They arrive mid-morning. The property is modest, 120 acres. The house sits on a slight rise, sturdy but clearly neglected. Hartwell helps everyone down. His face shows cold evaluation. "This is your stable shelter?" The tone makes his opinion clear. Jacob unlocks the door, steps inside. The interior is worse. 5 years of widower neglect obvious in every detail. Dust everywhere, minimal furniture, bare walls. It's not a home, it's a tomb. Emma's hand finds Catherine's. Hartwell turns to Jacob. "Mr. Brennan, this is barely habitable. You expect me to believe a child should live here?" Miss Pritchard walks through making notes. Her expression says everything. Inadequate, unsuitable, exactly what she expected. Jacob looks at the house through their eyes. Knows they're right. "You're right," Jacob says simply. "It's not suitable as it is. But it can be." He walks outside, returns carrying tools, hammers, saws, scrub brushes, everything he gathered before dawn. "You have until sunset to observe stable shelter. Watch." And then he begins working. Catherine watches for 30 seconds, then joins him without being asked. Just rolls up her sleeves and starts scrubbing. Emma stands uncertain, then finds a broom too big for her and starts sweeping. 3 people working, transforming despair into possibility. By noon, the main room is clean, truly clean. The stove works, the windows let in, light blocked for years. Jacob brings in furniture he's been building, a table, chairs, small pieces that turn a space from barely functional into actually livable. Catherine finds curtains from town, simple fabric, but enough to make windows feel like they frame views rather than just letting in cold. Emma finds wildflowers, winter-preserved, dried but beautiful, and places them in jars, small touches of color in a space that's been gray too long. By mid-afternoon, the house has transformed, not luxurious, not fancy, but clean, functional, starting to look like a place where people might actually live. Hartwell tours the rooms again. His expression has shifted from dismissive certainty to something more complex. "You've cleaned," Hartwell says. "Repaired basic issues. But stability isn't about a clean house. It's about resources, income, long-term security." "Tomorrow," Jacob says simply. "I'll prove that tomorrow." As sunset approaches, Hartwell prepares to leave. Before he departs, Emma walks up to him. "Thank you for giving Mr. Jacob a chance. He's a good man. I can tell." Hartwell looks down at her. "How can you tell, child?" "Because he fixed his house for me. Even though he's sad. Even though it hurts him. He did it anyway." The observation lands with uncomfortable accuracy. Hartwell has no response. After they leave, Jacob, Catherine, and Emma stand in the transformed house as lamps are lit. "1 day down," Catherine says. 2 to go. "We have a chance," Jacob says. "Maybe not a good chance, but a chance." Morning of the 2nd day. Today, financial security and education. Jacob takes Hartwell into town, to his carpentry workshop, shows him finished pieces, furniture of exceptional quality, tables, chairs, cabinets. The general store owner confirms. Jacob's the best carpenter in the territory. His pieces sell as fast as he can make them. "I've got orders backed up 3 months. The bank manager verifies. Modest but stable savings, consistent deposits from carpentry sales. Hartwell is forced to acknowledge, "You have a skilled trade. That's something." But Miss Pritchard interjects. "Education. What about proper education? This is a frontier town with a 1-room schoolhouse. The child would receive better education in Boston." Catherine speaks up. "I was a teacher before I became a domestic servant. I have credentials from a normal school in Pennsylvania." She produces her teaching certificate, weathered but legitimate. Hartwell. And moral guidance, religious instruction. Jacob. There's a church. Pastor Miller runs Sunday school. They visit the church. Pastor Miller, elderly with kind eyes, meets Emma. Any child is welcome here, Mr. Hartwell. We don't see children as property. We see them as blessings. The moral argument shifts. Hartwell's institutional approach versus the frontier community's personal faith. By evening, Hartwell grudgingly admits, "You've proven basic competence, shelter, modest income, educational capability, but that's not enough." Tomorrow is day 3. The final criterion, genuine emotional well-being and family structure. That's what you cannot manufacture. Either this child has found a real family or she hasn't, and I will know the difference. Third day. The true test. Hartwell announces, "I will spend the day observing, not what you show me, what actually exists." I've interviewed children for 20 years. I can tell when they're performing versus when they're genuinely happy. The day unfolds naturally. Morning. Catherine teaches Emma to read from a primer. Emma struggles with some words but laughs when she succeeds. Catherine is patient, encouraging. Midday. Jacob works in his workshop. Emma wanders in, watches him shape wood. He shows her how to sand, guides her small hands. She beams with pride. Afternoon. Hartwell arranges to speak with Emma alone. Sheriff present. He asks directly, "Emma, do you want to stay here or return to Boston with me?" Emma, quietly but clearly, "I want to stay with Miss Catherine and Mr. Jacob." "Why? What do they have that we cannot provide?" Emma thinks. "They don't look at me like I'm a problem to solve. They look at me like I'm someone they want to know." Evening of the third day. Hartwell calls them together at the ranch house. His face is unreadable. "Mr. Brennan, Miss Wells, I've completed my evaluation." Long pause. Emma clutches Catherine's hand. "I came here believing institutional care, structured placement, proper training were superior to this." He gestures at the modest ranch. "But I've watched you for 3 days, and I've seen something unexpected." Jacob and Catherine brace for the verdict. Hartwell looks at Emma. "I've seen a child smile, actually smile, for the first time since her parents died, according to my records. I've seen 2 adults put aside their own comfort, their own plans, to fight for someone else's child. Not for money, not for advancement, because they believe it's right." His voice softens slightly. "My wife and I lost a child. Years ago, a daughter. She would have been about Emma's age now. This revelation shifts everything. Hartwell isn't just a bureaucrat. He's a father who understands grief. When my daughter died, I threw myself into my agency, into systems and structures. I told myself I was helping children by organizing them, placing them, giving them futures. But I've been managing them, not loving them." He looks at Jacob. "You've proven something I didn't want to see. That family isn't about resources or institutions. It's about being chosen, about choosing each other every day." Hartwell opens his document case, removes the custody papers. For a terrible moment, it seems he's going to enforce them. Instead, he tears them in half. "I'm releasing custody. Effective immediately, Emma Fletcher is free of the Hartwell Agency's guardianship." Catherine gasps. Emma doesn't understand yet. Jacob's face shows relief so profound it's almost painful. "Miss Wells, I'll arrange for you to legally adopt Emma. Mr. Brennan, if you and Miss Wells choose to marry, you'll both become her legal parents. If not, you can share guardianship." The agency will provide a stipend, compensation for years of service, enough to help establish your household. He stands. I came to retrieve property. I'm leaving having witnessed what I'd forgotten. Children aren't possessions. They're people, and they deserve to be treated as such. As Hartwell reaches the door, Emma's voice stops him. Mr. Hartwell? Thank you. Hartwell turns, and for the first time he smiles, real, genuine, touched by grief and recognition. You're welcome, Emma. Be happy. That's all any father wants for his daughter. He leaves. The carriage pulls away into winter dusk. Catherine, Jacob, and Emma stand in the ranch house, the weight of what just happened settling on them. Catherine speaks first. Jacob, you understand. You don't have to marry me. Hartwell said we can share guardianship. You've done enough. Jacob looks at her, really looks at her for the first time since the train platform. I didn't place that advertisement looking for romance. I placed it because my sister said I was dying slowly, that I needed a reason to live. He looks at Emma. This little girl asked me to be her father, and you risked everything to save her. That seems like reason enough. Catherine. So what are you saying? Jacob, awkward but honest. I'm saying let's try, not as strangers pretending to be in love, but as two people choosing to build something together for her, and maybe, eventually for us. Catherine considers. A partnership, based on respect and shared purpose. Exactly, Emma asks. Does that mean I can stay? Forever? Jacob kneels to her level. For the first time, his face shows something other than grief. Yes, Emma. Forever. If you'll have us. Emma launches herself into his arms. Can I call you Papa now? Jacob holds her, this child who isn't his by blood, but is his by choice. Yes, you can call me Papa. Flash forward to late spring 1882. The ranch has been transformed, gardens planted, fences repaired, new structures built. Jacob's carpentry workshop has expanded. He now employs 2 apprentices from town. Catherine has started a small school on the ranch property, teaching Emma and 5 other children from neighboring homesteads. Emma has flourished, healthy, happy, laughing freely. Calling Jacob Papa and Catherine Mama. Jacob and Catherine married 3 months earlier in a quiet ceremony, not romance, but genuine partnership built on mutual respect and shared purpose. Their relationship is warm, companionable, based on deep friendship rather than passion, and that's exactly what they both need. One afternoon, a letter arrives from Harrison Hartwell. Jacob reads it aloud to Catherine. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Brennan, I trust this letter finds you well. I write to inform you that I have made changes to the Hartwell Agency's policies regarding child placement. We are now prioritizing family placement over institutional training, screening for genuine care rather than simply economic capability. Your example and Emma's happiness, evident in the photograph you sent, has taught me something I'd forgotten in my grief, that the best institutions are the ones that disappear when they're no longer needed, replaced by families who choose each other. Enclosed is a legal document finalizing Emma's adoption. All claims are released. She is yours completely, in every sense that matters. Thank you for reminding an old man what truly matters. My daughter would have liked Emma very much. Catherine's eyes fill with tears. Jacob folds the letter carefully. Emma comes running in from outside, covered in garden dirt, laughing. Papa, come see what I grew. The carrots are ready. That evening, Jacob takes Emma to the hilltop where Mary and Sarah are buried. Catherine comes too. This has become their family ritual, visiting the graves together. Emma places wildflowers on both headstones, a habit she started on her own. She speaks to the graves quietly. Hello, Mrs. Mary. Hello, Sarah. Papa says you would have liked me. I think I would have liked you too. Jacob stands with his arm around Catherine, watching Emma. Catherine speaks quietly. Do you think Mary would approve? Of us? Of how this all turned out? Jacob considers. Mary wanted me to be a father. She used to say I was better at being a father than anything else. I think she'd approve of Emma. And I think she'd approve of you for giving me a reason to try again. Catherine leans against him. Comfortable, easy. I didn't come west looking for love. I came looking for safety, for a chance to save a child. But I found something better than love. I found purpose and partnership, and a reason to wake up hopeful instead of afraid. They walk back to the ranch house as the sun sets. Emma runs ahead, then stops and turns back, silhouetted against golden light. She calls out, "Mama! Papa, come on! I want to show you my reading before dinner." Jacob and Catherine walk toward her together, this child who brought them together, who made them a family by simply asking them to choose her. The camera holds on this moment. Three people who started as strangers, now walking together toward home. Voiceover begins, Jacob narrating, "They ask you when you're young what you want to be when you grow up. They want you to say something grand, a doctor, a lawyer, a leader. Nobody tells you that the greatest thing you can be is present, available, willing to show up for someone who needs you. I was a widower dying slowly, waiting for my grief to finish what disease started. Catherine was a woman running from one bad situation toward an unknown one, with a child who wasn't hers and had nowhere else to go. Emma was a little girl who'd lost everything and was being treated like property, like a problem to be managed rather than a person to be loved. We didn't find each other through romance or destiny or any of those pretty words people like to use. We found each other because a child asked a question, 'Can you be my papa?' And two broken adults decided that the answer, despite everything, was yes. My first daughter, Sarah, I couldn't save. That will haunt me until I die. But Emma I could save, and in saving her, maybe she saved me too. They say you can't replace what you've lost. They're right. You can't. But you can choose to love again. You can choose to be a father again. You can choose to let life surprise you. And sometimes that choice, that simple, terrifying choice to try, that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. For every man who learned that being a father isn't about biology, it's about showing up. For every woman who chose love over safety, courage over comfort. For every child who dared to ask, "Can you be my family?" and found the answer was yes. Inspired by the true stories of frontier families built not on bloodlines, but on choice, courage, and the quiet strength found in choosing each other every single day.